Welcome back, Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic, non-classics. Yeah, I know it's been a few weeks since I did one of these, basically. Okay, this is going to be episode 1214, double shot number 1108, because I have anything to review just yet, but now I do. First, and this is first a few comic corners in a row, it's all digital trades. First up, it is Star Wars, Rogues and Rebels. This trade is the end of Star Wars Volume 2. Not only that, it's the end of the first volume of the new Marvel era for Star Wars. Yep, this book collects issues 73 to 75 of Star Wars Volume 2 and Empire Ascent. It's a one-shot, basically, that concluded this volume and set up the very next volume, plus 3 series, one of whom is a relaunch of a previous volume. Yeah, this storyline is simply put just a continuation of what happened last time. Still the same creative team, Phil Noto, who's the artist, and Greg Pak has done the artwork. Yep. Now, the thing is, Greg Pak, I don't think he's ever worked with. Part of the story, I don't think he's ever worked with Phil Noto. Phil Noto does have a pretty good history with Star Wars. How? He was the original artist for the Poe Dameron series, where he drew all the covers. He was the interior artist for pretty much most of the first 14 issues of the series. And he worked with Rucka. He did the covers for the book Before the Awakening, and the 3 books basically focus on one Leia, Han Solo, and Luke Skywalker as one of those canon books. Yeah, he drew the covers for those, which are really good covers. Yep. And this book doesn't really explain about C-3PO's legs, because in the movie, in Empire Strikes Back, his legs are gold again. And mostly this just wraps up any loose ends that the previous volume had with the compass of this particular volume. Empire Ascent is set up for the next stage of the Star Wars books, which basically sets up Star Wars Volume 3 under Charles Shaw, which still continues very I met Charles Shaw, great guy. A new Darth Vader book, which I believe Greg Pak took over this book. Yep, becoming the third writer to write this book. We also have Dr. Aphra, this book written by a woman this time, and Bounty Hunters. Yep, Bounty Hunters. Which this one's focused on the bounty hunters of the Star Wars universe. Now, one thing cool about these particular books is that all 4 of these books take place after the event of Empire Strikes Back. This is leading into that particular movie. Yep. And this one does deal with like a couple wrap-ups, a couple storylines. Like in here is like facing this guy, this boss, what apparently Han Solo knows, and of course Leia's previous boyfriend. And there's some interrogation, and of course she reveals who she is as the boss. And they escape, and then Vader briefly teams up with Chewbacca and C-3PO. By the way, could be like the first time he's actually seen in the canon timeline that Darth Vader's seen C-3PO. Well, since Empire Strikes Back, though C-3PO doesn't know who this is. Yep, he does not know. In the previous continuity in the original EU, he thought that Darth Vader was a robot. Yep, not know who he is. Darth Vader didn't like the insult very much, so he basically degraded C-3PO to be a nursery maid. Yes, that's what he did with him. But luckily that's not canon anymore. Of course, Darth Vader is slicing a bunch of rock creatures. The planet itself eventually destroyed. Luke wraps up his mission pretty easily. And of course, he gets his lightsaber back. And, well, we gotta love this cover of Darth Vader versus Chewbacca on cover 74. Yep. With most everything getting loosely wrapped up here. And mostly like a lot of stuff for Empire Strikes Back. It's a great final 3 issues of this volume. And it's great though Vader's in these last few issues, because he was in the first few issues of this run, so why not? Yep, you gotta love the fact that Chewbacca had a chance to beat up Darth Vader, which is something he never did in the movies. Nope, never did. And well, 75 wraps up this run really easily, with everybody getting away. Though they don't kill anybody. Not necessarily, no. Yep. And with everybody getting away, leading directly into events Empire Strikes Back. which, of course, well, when they start off the first few stories in there, this is pretty much like just before the start of the movie, where the rebel base is being set up at Hoth, which is the base is called Echo Base, and they're all basically set up their stuff there. And this I thought was really cool here. In this story, we have the return of Poe Dameron's parents. Yes, they show up in this story. This, of course, is prior. This, of course, is prior to start of Empire Strikes Back. The last time these characters were seen were actually in, believe it or not, in the Star Wars Shattered Empire series, which a lot of people probably felt that series should have been ongoing because that was a great miniseries, and I kind of thought this should have been ongoing because it picks up right where Return of the Jedi left off, and I kind of feel it should. Now, despite the fact this is a return of these two characters, it doesn't do much of anything for, like, they don't really show up again after this. And all that story does, it just set up for the very next volume of Star Wars, which they don't really show up there. Because the current volume for Star Wars picks up right where Empire Strikes Back leaves off, where the storyline is simply Luke getting back his lightsaber. Darth Vader one is simply put what basically is just all this is just set up for the current Darth Vader book by Grey Pak. That's all this book is. And then the third story is basically set up for the ongoing series Bounty Hunters, written by Ethan Stacks. Now, those of you probably asking, who the heck is Ethan Stacks? He was the writer of Old Man Hawkeye, Old Man Peter Quill. The guy is a really good writer, and he's the current writer of the Bounty Hunter series, which is really good and felt really necessary to basically have. Yep, and this guy here, this Bounty Hunter, he showed up in the original Star Wars comic book in the original Marvel days from the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, he was in that comic book. And this story is set up for that series, which is still going. Yep. Now, the last one is Epilogue, which is simply at the conclusions to Dr. Aphra Volume 1, while also setting up Dr. Aphra Volume 2, which also has Dr. Aphra's smoking hot girlfriend, which, if you're curious still, does she show up in the current volume? Nope, she doesn't. She's only in this one last story, where Dr. Aphra herself doesn't really appear in this story at all. We see reappearance with Luke Skywalker show off the wheels, which basically were Echo Base. So, yeah, that's the last of the volume. And, well, that's the end of this particular run for Star Wars. It's an overall really good book, and it was a great way to wrap up this particular run. I give this book roughly a 9 out of 10. Great brief from a Greg Pak. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Final thoughts on Star Wars Volume 2 as a whole. It was a good volume. It had a great start with Jason Aaron. Like, his entire run is fantastic. The only weakness of his run, and a lot of people point this out though, the changing artwork. Yes, for some reason, and Gillian didn't have this much of a problem, neither did Pak, because Pak only had one artist, Phil Noto. Though his run pretty much ended the book. The problem with Jason Aaron's run basically was every arc had a brand new story arc, a brand new artist. Excuse me. Take, like, for example, the first arc of the series, Skywalker Strikes. This came roughly about 5 years ago, and the artwork for that one was done by John Cassidy, who's a damn good artist, by the way. And then each successive volume, he got a brand new artist. And then came the storyline involving they had this really cool thing with the journalist Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I thought it was a really cool idea, despite the fact that, here's kind of the thing, Karen Gillian didn't do that. Nope, never did. Though, one thing I didn't like, now, the final artist for Jason Aaron's run was the artist who basically took up most of Karen Gillian's run before he, during most of his run before he ended it. And that was about the Roca. The Roca, when he started in the book, I think the arc was good, but then eventually after Karen Gillian's first arc, the artwork got so bad. Oh my gosh. I mean, heck, I've shown people this artwork for this run. The way he draws aliens, really cool. really good. The way he draws the backgrounds, really good. The way he draws the main Star Wars character, like the main three and Lando, it looked like utter garbage. It felt as though he just traced from photos. It looked so bad. The guy who replaced him was slightly better. I mean, I had nothing against Salvador Roca as an artist because the guy himself has done better artwork than this. Why the heck in the world he had to do this for the Star Wars characters made no sense. Gillian's run was okay at best. It had an interesting start to it, doing having a follow up to Rogue One, basically having the rebellion go the Jada, which that I thought was really cool. But then afterwards, it's mostly put just having this character he had pop up from his Darth Vader book, which she was there for most of the run until like the end of the once the end of the book, he killed off the character. Yep, killed her off. And then Greg Pak came in the book. In my opinion, he helped save the book because I think that for a lot of people that maybe Gillian's run probably drove readers away because no one was like what he was doing. Though he did some interesting things for the run, like those remember the old man who popped up in New Hope, who was giving the briefing. Yeah, he pops up during the run, and it basically gives sort of an explanation of why he doesn't appear in Empire Strikes Back. In the movie, there's no explanation what happened to him. He just doesn't show up at all. In the book, it explains he actually sacrificed himself to take out some Empire ships. Okay, quite interesting. And though Jason Aaron's run did introduce one cool concept, and that was basically a brand new character who was allegedly Han Solo's wife. Really wasn't. Nope, really wasn't. And one thing that was also really cool about Star Wars this whole run, it had two crossovers, because Marvel Comics loves crossovers. First one was Vader Down, which was awesome. Loved it. And probably gave a good reason why Marvel did follow up the following year, even though Vader, it was crossed between Star Wars and Darth Vader, and the following year was between Star Wars and Dr. Aphra. This one was not very good. And my guess is that a lot of people probably didn't like this crossover very much. So that's probably the reason why we never had one again after that. Nope, never did. And with this book, I reviewed most of the Star Wars books under the current Marvel line. Yeah, most of them. I would say the only ones I haven't reviewed yet are the three books that contain those series of one-shots for the heroes and villains for Republic, Rebellion, and Resistance. There's also the last couple trades for the Dr. Aphra run, which I haven't finished up yet. And I think there might be one or two others, and that's it. But yeah, I've reviewed pretty much most of this entire era for Star Wars. Yep. Alright, next up is The Flash. Flash, Savior of the Universe. Oh. Now, this is basically Volume 3 of the run by Francis Menapo by Buccellato, plus also Volume 3 of Volume 4. This is simply put, basically, the Flash, the Rogues team up to take on Gorilla Grodd. Yep. And this overall is an awesome storyline. Now, those of you curious to read the current book of Why in the World, the Trickster, where he pretty much doesn't have an arm now anymore, well, this basically gives an explanation of why. And the reason is because Gorilla Grodd ripped off his arm. I'm not going to show it, but yeah. But it's an overall really awesome storyline. And I highly recommend it. Like, it has some good artwork in here. Well, not only good artwork, but also... Come on, seriously, thank you. Yeah. But it's a really good epic storyline that only lasts for about 6 issues. Of the final issue has nothing really much to do with this at all. Though I appreciate that we have an interesting idea of the Flash team with the Rogues. Which, really cool idea. Though, in the case of the storyline, we actually have Gorilla Grodd getting speed powers. There is sort of an explanation for this, where he apparently ate the brain of Eobard Thawne. Though this is later ignored by another writer. Yep. But the Guerrilla Warfare storyline is awesome, and probably by far a really good high point for, well, Francis Menapo and Brian Buccella's run. Hey, sorry about that. My dad had to come and take out the trash. This arc, we had good battles with it. Though this basically is fought with, like, this arc is actually mentioned in Rogue's Rebellion. Though one thing I didn't like about Rogue's Rebellion, the Trey paperback, it contained the Rogue's one shot, which was really good. They didn't put it in the Gorilla Grodd one shot for some reason. I don't know why, but they never did. Though, of course, well, after this arc, there's roughly one arc left of the Francis Member by Brutal run. Yeah, there's like one left. Actually, two left. Yep, though the end of this arc does set up the very next arc of the series, which has debut of the Reverse Flash for this run. Who, oh my gosh. Who, like, when you see this guy, like, what, really? This is the Reverse Flash? Yeah, he shows up in the end of the storyline. There he is. The Reverse Flash. Who he is? I won't reveal that until the very next episode because who this guy is like, okay. And he's a very dark Reverse Flash. He's like pure evil. Like, this guy kills people a lot more. Ebar Thawne was pure fun. And Hunter Zolomon an awesome villain. But this is technically the third Reverse Flash. Yeah, my guess is the reason why that Francis Member created this guy is because they probably wanted to use Ebar Thawne, but they probably used Reverse Flash, but they couldn't use Ebar Thawne. So my guess the compromise was create their own Flash, because they probably had plans to use it because they probably had a lot of setup for Ebar Thawne to show up during this run. But lucky enough that rather than did he basically follow up with that. Yep, but Guerrilla Warfare is an absolute great storyline. I like the fact when Flash does, it's basically where at the end of a major storyline, they set up the very next thing. Which is the case this one, it is the Reverse Flash. Which is a great storyline, which I will discuss that in my next video. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. Okay, stay tuned for my review for Uzuki-chan Wants to Hang Out. Yep, plus in our comic corner. Okay, see you next video. Bye.